Ready to level up your career? Text DISH to 44043 now to dive into a world of exciting technician opportunities at DISH. From cutting-edge technology to a supportive work environment, DISH offers the perfect platform for your success. Connect with us today to discover how you can be part of a dynamic team driving innovation. Connect today and join the DISH family, where innovation meets opportunity. Text DISH to 44043 to kickstart your journey towards a rewarding career.
Hello and welcome to Love Samantha Lee, the More Than Just Pretty podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Lee, and here we explore love, life, spirituality, and relationships through the lens of real beauty, the kind that begins the moment you decide to be unapologetically yourself. Join us as we dive into heartfelt discussions that challenge, inspire, and connect. Ready to embrace your true self? Let's begin. What's up, family? So today, as you know, you guys, I cannot do this without being unapologetically myself and just being honest with you guys, giving y'all the raw truth of where I'm at right now. So I'm not gonna lie, just this past weekend, I found that it was really, really hard for me to connect with God. I remember like driving to church on Sunday and just feeling like I felt disconnected. I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but it's like you don't feel like God is with you. There's a sense of unrest. There's a lack of peace. You just feel like you're alone. And I remember just driving and my, I have my daughter in the car and we're talking and I'm playing music. I'm listening to worship, but it's not like I'm, y'all know that I listen to worship music a lot because I feel like music has a spirit and, gospel music helps me to feel more at peace, right? So as I'm listening to the music, it's not like I'm listening to it with a worship heart. I'm listening to the music because I like the songs. And I'm realizing that there's a deep disconnection. I go to church and, my pastor is preaching and doing her thing and I'm listening to what she's saying. And she starts off, I'm sure the Spirit prompted her, but starts off by saying, it's time to let go of your plan. It's time to let go of anxiety. It's time to let go of worry. It's time to let go of doubt. Anybody that has an anxiety issue, stand up. And of course, your girl stands up because my mind's been racing. And I'd be lying if I told y'all anything other than that. And as my mind is racing, and as I'm thinking and I'm lost in my thoughts, I realize that a lot of my disconnection is me defaulting to me. It's me defaulting to me. There's a sermon I listened to before by Stephen Furtick where he talks about the battle belongs to God. Like the battle does not belong to you, it belongs to God. The battle's not yours. And he said in that sermon that when we start to take on God weight, that we lose peace or we feel anxious, we feel out of control, we feel like we're working very hard to control the uncontrollable. And that when we're at that place of unrest and when we're at that place, like we're at the brim, like we're at the top. And when I say at the top, y'all know what I'm saying. When you at the tippy top where you can't take no more, like if somebody says something else, if somebody cut me off in a car, if somebody called me with X, Y, or the Z, your girl's got something for them. Like you get to that point where you're just about to snap. Tears are literally they're on your eyes. They're just waiting for another thing to happen for it to fall down your face. And I realized in that moment that I was taking on a lot of God weight. And I'm not built with the capacity to handle God weight. No one is. And I found that there were things that I was doing in my life to make things happen the way that I wanted them to happen, when I wanted them to happen, how I wanted them to happen, and exhausting myself of trying to make these things happen. When anything happens in our life, there's got to be a little bit of God in it. And when I came to that realization, and my pastor, she does the thing, she ends the prayer, I felt a little bit of weight just fall off me. And as I was driving home from church, and after having a conversation with her, I drive home and I'm just praying. I'm like, God, I'm sorry. I realize that I've kind of gone to my own devices. I've gone rogue. I've gone my own way. That I'm lost. And I didn't want to be found. That really the reality of why I couldn't pray or why I couldn't connect with God wasn't because God wasn't there. It was because I wasn't there. That where I was in flesh, in my mode, in me, frustrated with some of the things that were going on in my own life, things that I want to happen, things that I trying to make happen. It ain't happening. And I'm trying and trying and trying, and I want it to happen right away. And it's not meant to happen right away. And so I was, the other night, last night, to be honest with you, I was sitting there, I was listening to spiritual things that night. I was just listening to spiritual things. And the nights before I hadn't done that. The night before I had watched BET Awards, and I was watching other, little podcasts. But last night I was super intentional. I wanted to listen to God. I wanted to listen to what he wanted to say, and people just affirming and things like that. And I'm listening. And God spoke to me. And he confronted me. Oh, I don't want to cry. He confronted me. And he confronted me about things that I think you may be able to relate to. But he says, you're not ready for what you're praying for. You're still too reactive. You're still too, you've gotten better, but you're not where you need to be. And you had a moment where you weren't allowing certain things to get to you, and you getting back into the phase that I try to get you from, where you're not as pop-offy. Y'all know I'm from New Jersey or whatever, and there's times where you go into the social media space. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Sometimes it's hard. It's hard. You get into this space. People got all these opinions, got all these things to say. They talking as in they speaking in facts about you, and you couldn't point them out in a lineup if you wanted to. They do a simple Google search, and they feel like they know you. You don't know me. And you speaking on me, speaking on decisions I've made or decisions I did not make, you don't know the difference. You just know that somebody said this. And so now you repeating gossips and speaking it as fact, as that's my character. And y'all, I ain't gonna lie to you. There's a part of me that wants to address it head on. A part of me wants to bring the person on my live one day and say, okay, tell me what you think you know about me. Let me correct what you think you know, because I don't know you. I couldn't point you out walking down the street or in the mall, but you can point me out. You know me, but I don't know you. That's convenient. You can speak on my life. I can't speak on yours. And I got that, like I said, I just got that energy sometimes where, you can get frustrated. We're all human and dealing with different levels and getting to different places. God is saying to me, well, see, a part of that is understanding that when Jesus got to the cross, y'all, he was being confronted of a lot of things. Did he say a word? And it wasn't just people speaking. It was his life was on the line. People were literally taking a cat of nine tails, which is nails at the end of this rope, and just putting it into his skin. I mean, he was being destroyed physically. He didn't say a word.
Shop Plato's Closet tax-free August 2nd through 4th for back-to-school styles. We sell the trendy, gently used styles you need to make a difference in the world and in your wallet for back-to-school shopping. Save up to 70% off regular retail prices by choosing recycled styles. Save even more when you shop tax-free this weekend. Make a change that others can respect and repeat. Shop Plato's Closet in North Charleston and West Ashley this year for your back-to-school looks. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
He was responsible with the power that he was given. And as responsible as I've tried to be, still not as responsible as I need to be. That's the truth. Truth of the matter is that you do have to get to a real level. When God gives you a platform, you have to get to a real level of like, okay, I've got to divorce the need for people's approval. Divorce the need to correct the record or set the record straight or defend yourself. You really have to get to a place where it's like, okay, God, I am going to be faithful and I'm going to let you do the rest. And I noticed that in recent times, as I felt like I've gotten so much better at handling, some of the things that come my way, I realized that no, I'm starting to slip into old patterns. I'm gotten so, once you feel like you make it, it's almost like you feel like you've gotten to where you need to be. It's like little things start to come back where you're like, oh, I'm not as delivered as I thought I was. I thought I was 100% delivered, but I'm not. I'm still need a little bit more work. I think that's part of life, is understanding that there's always a little bit more work. There's always a little bit more that you can do. There's always ways that you can improve. There's a sense of humility you have to have when it comes to life. And as I was navigating this time with God, he just confronted me with 4 things, y'all. I wrote it down in my journal, 4 things that he wanted me to work on. 4 things that I had to bring to the altar and really ask for his help, because I know that these are things that are challenging for me, and they've been a challenge for me. And I want to do the right thing. I want to please him. I want to please him. And I had to literally say the other day, like, okay, God, I'm gonna write it down. And it's like, once I kind of open myself up to be vulnerable to him, not to just a random human being, but to him, I felt that there was an opening up of my spirit. There was a boulder that was on my shoulders that magically lifted off. And it wasn't because I got everything right. It wasn't because I magically became perfect in 5 minutes. It was because I let him in. I invited him in. There's a song by Jonathan Miranda's called Situation. And I'm going to read you guys the lyrics to the song. Let me find it. Yeah. Okay. And it's coming up. This is a song. It says, I ask for things that I need. I get frustrated when you disagree. You're always listening closely to me, and there is a limit to what I can see. So I'm not asking for an outcome or praying for results. I'm not hoping that it all goes exactly how I want. No, I'm not asking you to do it or asking that you don't. I'm just inviting you to my situation. Come through, because I want you in my situation. I'm just inviting you in my situation. You see the big picture. You hold the frame. Past, present, and future, you see the same. I know that it's very human to want everything my way, but if I don't get what I pray for, my hope is in your name. I'm not asking for an outcome or praying for results. I'm not hoping that it all goes exactly how I want. No, I'm not asking you to do it or asking that you don't. I'm just inviting you to my situation. And y'all, that is where I was at. I'm just inviting you into my situation. I had to let go of what I wanted to happen. And I realized that in all of the ways that the enemy was distracting me, I just saw like a big mess, really. And it came down to me desiring it. Really, that's what it truly came down to. It wasn't like there were specific things that God was asking for me to do differently, and I received that. But there was a hesitation. And I had to ask myself, like, why are you hesitant about this action? Why are you hesitant in wanting to change this thing? And I had to ask myself why, because anytime we struggle with different things in life, even on very surface level. It's like, why is that hard? Why can't you do that? Why? Like figuring out the why. What is your why? And I had to ask myself why. And a lot of that was because I wanted things to happen a certain way. And that certain way was me controlling how fast it happens. And I think what we don't understand about releasing things to God is that sometimes that's releasing the entire outcome. Like we can have a desired outcome. And in the New Testament, Paul talks about how when you pray, you shouldn't say, I'll see you tomorrow, or this is going to happen this time. It says, God willing, this will happen. God willing, that will happen. He says to pray with a sense of humility because you do not know what tomorrow holds. And in saying that, he's saying that there's a certain level there's certain things you can't promise. There's certain things you don't know is what's best for you or for the situation or for God's ultimate plan. That maybe things need to play out a way that is contradictory to what you want to happen, because his plan is bigger than what's happening right now. Like you may want things right now that make sense right now, but God knows that if you get that right now, or it happens right now, that's going to mess up the ultimate plan he has for your life. Like I can think about different things in my life, and that's what I had to go back to in this moment where I was getting confronted about things that I was struggling to let go of. And I had to understand that a part of why I wanted to do it my way was because I had control. And we like control. Part of releasing control is releasing control over the outcome. So I had to go back to a place in my life where there were so many different things I wanted. I'm going to give you guys an example. When I was, first love, college, I wanted that relationship to work out. I did not want that to end the way that it ended, how it ended. Right? We talking about this. This is, gosh, this may be 14 years ago, right? When I started college at 18, y'all can't do math right now, but when we talking about, if I'm, I ain't gonna say my age. Some of y'all know my age, but I ain't gonna say it right here. But if it's maybe 15 years ago, 14 to 16 years ago, right? That I was in this relationship, the beginning of my college career, 18. And I'm looking back on that like I wanted that to happen then. But thank God he did not give me what I wanted. Thank God it didn't work out the way that I wanted. Like I wanted this to happen. And sometimes, you guys, we get so caught up in wanting things to happen our way. And what we have to understand is that just because God allows it doesn't mean that that's his preferred will for your life. That just because he allowed the relationship to occur doesn't mean that that's what he actually wanted for you. He just said, okay, well, it's either your will or my will be done. Both wills can't be happening simultaneously. It is only when you surrender your will that my will can be done. It's only when you say, okay, enough of me and more of you, that I can enter into the picture. That a lot of times we think that because, God, if you don't want me to go here, we'll stop it. Don't make it work. Well, don't make it happen. And there are times where he will, because you've allowed him to enter into the situation. It says in the New Testament how when you're tempted, all you've got to do is to allow God, and he will provide you a way out. And it is up to you to take that way out when he gives it to you. And so there are times where you can default and say, hey, okay, God, go. But what I've learned in a lot of things, I see people and they pray, oh God, I want you to do this for me. I want you to take me out of this. I want you to remove this from me. And a lot of it is because you haven't really truly, God is not removing you because you're not removing yourself. That he's giving you a way out and you haven't taken it. You want him to do all the work. And a part of this God walk and God journey and relationship is a give and take. And when we're not willing to surrender and we're not really willing to really bring God and invite him into our situation, invite him into our life, really have that relationship with him, he's only limited. He's so limited what he can do. God is a gentleman. That's how it was described to me before. That you've got to ask him. He's not going to just intervene. Some of us ask God to intervene or ask God to do it for us, and then we do what we do. We do what we do. It's either his will or yours. And and when you start to do your will, it's almost like you ask a friend, like, for example, you might have to ask a friend to say, hey, can you do this for me? And they're like, oh, okay, I'll do it for you. And then you go and do it for yourself. It's like, oh, okay, well, I don't have to do this because you got it. That's how God is looking at it. Like, I can't touch. You've asked me to fix this relationship. You asked me to get you out of this situation. You've asked me to do it. But as soon as I try to intervene, as soon as I try to handle it myself, you go and do it yourself. So I can't do what you want me to do because you're not letting me. And a part of letting, even though we don't understand it, is being still. It's not trying to control the outcome. It's not predetermining what success looks like for the outcome. Sometimes it comes down to us saying, okay, well, God, what I know and I trust that whatever outcome you have for me is the best one for me. And I may not understand that right now, but I trust you. You've never abandoned me. You've never left my side. You've always been there for me. So why would you stop now? You've delivered me over and over again from things that I brought upon myself. So why would you stop? And some of us, if we were really real with ourselves, we would understand that we don't really trust God like that. That a lot of the reason why we aren't moving, a lot of the reasons why we're staying stuck in situations or choosing to be stuck, because I don't believe people tell me they stuck. No, you're choosing to be stuck. Exodus means exit. We serve the God of exits. So you're never stuck. If you are stuck, you are choosing to be stuck. Whether you were choosing to be stuck in a relationship, choosing to be stuck in a season of your life, choosing to be stuck into a job, choosing to be stuck in any aspect or facet of your life, you are choosing that. And a lot of times when people tell me like, oh, I want God to do this for me. I want to be out of this. I want. And it's like, okay, yeah, but what are you doing to allow God or bring God or invite God into your situation? Without all this fear coming up, well, what if this or what if that? Or what if that's you trying to control it? That's you trying to control the course. That's you trying to control what happens, how it happens, what happens. And God will let you settle in that. That's the part. God will let you live on whatever level you settle for. When Dr. Darius Daniels said that, it changed my whole perspective. God will let you live on whatever level you settle for. So if you want to settle in that relationship that you know ain't the best for you, well, then he will let you do it. If you don't want to remove yourself from a job that you know is way below your means, but you're comfortable and you're familiar with it and you don't want to take a risk, he will let you settle there. God will let you settle, will let you live on whatever level you settle for. Because he's a gentleman. He's not going to impose his will unless you invite his will. And a part of inviting his will is the same example that I gave earlier. It's like, God, I want you to do this. I've got to let him do it. And that means the timeline ain't on you. How it happens, when it happens, if it happens, the way it happens, how the outcome looks in the end, that is not on you. That's a part of releasing. That's the hardest part of releasing, family. Is trusting that whatever outcome happens is the best one for me. Even if it isn't my desired outcome for this particular situation, I've got to trust that whatever God has for me is what's best for me. Because we can live on two levels. We can live on God's preferred level, or we can live in our level. It's up to us. But I've learned that a part of me actually having peace today as I speak to you is me releasing and saying, you know what, God? I trust you. I really do. I've seen how you move mountains. I've seen how faithful you are. I've seen how you've delivered me for my own stuff, things that I've created for myself. I see where I sit today, and I wasn't sitting there a few years ago. I've seen you move. I've seen it. And no matter how much the enemy wants to taunt me with different things, I know your way is better than mine. I trust you. I'm going to let you do your will. I'm going to pray for the strength to let you do it. The peace to let you do it. I pray for that. I pray that God gives me the strength once you do it, God, give me the strength to move the way you want me to move. Give me the strength, the courage, the discernment, the wisdom to act out or enact exactly what you want me to do. Give me that. Give me the playbook. I'll do it. I just pray for the strength to do it. I pray for the wherewithal to get it done. That's what I pray for. But y'all, the only reason why it had been hard to pray because I was trying so hard to make my will happen. I was fighting for control over my life with my God. That's why I didn't have no peace. That's why I couldn't worship or focus. That's why I was anxious. That's why I was all over the place trying to find a distraction. Because I still hadn't released what I needed to release, which was me, my flesh, what I wanted, how I wanted it, when I wanted it done. And say that powerful thing that Jesus said in the garden. God, I don't want to do this. He says this. I don't want to do this. I'm gonna actually find the verse. Okay. It says, Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done. Luke 22:42. Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done. Listen, God, if this is not, I'm submitting what I prefer. I'm submitting my desired outcome. But not my will, yours be done. But the part of that is that he ended up having to do exactly what he didn't want to do. The outcome he was trying to avoid happened. But God gave him the strength. It said right after that angels came and strengthened him to be able to prepare to do what he had inevitably had to do. But that submission is what we should aspire to have. Instead of trying so hard to make what we want happen, trying so hard to take control, to avoid all the risks, to stay in comfortable and familiar places. That should be our role model. That God, the most comfortable way for this to play out is if I don't have to go to this cross. But yet not my will, yours be done. Some of y'all are not truly submitting. You're not really letting go of what God is calling you to let go of. And that's why you're lacking peace. You're not truly laying it down at the altar. You keep asking God to do something. You take it over yourself and have all this pressure and anxiety on yourself. You are literally about to have a burnout, a mental breakdown, because you're trying so hard to carry God weight, and you, my friend, are not God. So submit today. Get alone, get honest with God. Talk to him like he's your best friend. Keep it 100% real with him. Say, listen, God, I've been trying to do this all on my own, but I am not good at this. I cannot carry this anymore. I have come as far as I could go. I need you to enter into this space with me. I need you to enter into the situation. I encourage you guys to listen to the Jonathan McReynolds song, Situation. Come into my situation. I need you. I can't do this without you. And I will do whatever you ask me to do. Just give me the strength to do it. Give me the courage to do it. I'm willing. That's part of it. Some of us are not willing. We're not willing to do whatever it takes. And the reality is, guys, as comfortable as it is to obey God, God is not going to ask you to do something that isn't what's best for you. You're choosing to do something that isn't what's best for you. It's almost like saying, I want to lose weight, and I know that the diet requires me not to eat bread or not to eat chocolate chip cookies or not to eat nachos. I know that that's what's required to get me to my end goal, but I'm not willing to do it. So you can stay right where you're at then. You ain't gonna lose no weight. The end goal requires risk. Part of the tax we pay for success. The end goal requires sacrifice. Sacrifice, it's a risk. It takes courage, it takes strength. But it's worth it. Joseph didn't know that when he was thrown into the pit, that one day he would end up in a palace. He didn't know that. All he did was be obedient throughout the journey. And he could have said, okay, God, you don't have me thrown into a pit by my brothers. You don't now put me as a slave in somebody's household. I got comfortable there. And then you have me have to go to a jail. And now I'm sitting in jail for something I did not do. I do not know what you're doing. And he could have given up on God right there, but he didn't. He ended up at the end of that entire journey, second in command in Egypt. That's because he had a level of faith. He had a level of understanding that, yes, this is not my preferred will, but I know that wherever God has me, it's going to be worth it. I know that whatever the end part of my journey, because I know, y'all, I know that Joseph did not have in mind that he would be second in command in Egypt after sitting in a jail cell. He did not think that that was even possible, but it just goes to show you that whatever God has before you, whatever your past is inferior to whatever God has for your future. You just got to believe it. You just got to have faith in it. And some of us say that we have faith that God is doing exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ever ask, think, or imagine. Some of us say that eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard, and minds can't even imagine what God has for us. But your behavior does not show that you trust that God has greater. Your behavior has you stuck in the same situation you've been in for the last 10 years. Your behavior has you choosing less. So I cannot believe that you have faith for greater when you continue to choose less. If somebody said this, and this resonates with me, y'all, I'm standing up. And I was trying to close, but I'm standing up. That people are only as faithful as their options. People are only as faithful as their options. If they have no options, if they're faithful, are they really being faithful, or they don't have no other choice? But if you're dealing with somebody who do got a lot of options and they choosing you, then you know that they're faithful. Right? Sometimes, y'all, we're saying that we're faithful to God's plan and that we're faithful to all these different things, but our behavior is not aligning with that, because as soon as you have another option, you choose it. You have an option to stay where you at, or you have an option to trust God for more. You don't see more, so you stay where you at. You made a choice. That's your option. So I can tell based upon the options that you are taking what you actually believe, because you can tell me anything. You can say you want the family, the this, the that, but if you keep choosing the streets, I gotta believe you want the streets. Some of us, our behavior is not aligning with the faith that we say that we have in the God that we serve. And I had to be confronted with that, family. That's where God had me. Do you not trust me enough that with the way that I'm going to do it, the way I've done it in the past, you don't think, Sam, I got you? You don't think that I have your best interest in mind? Do you not know that I know what your plan is? I know what I've panned out for your future. I gave you this platform for a reason. You don't think I have your best interest in mind? That you want to take control now. You want to do it your way. You want to be the way that you are and act out and be confronted when somebody gives you an alternative opinion that you don't like to hear about yourself, that isn't necessarily true. You want to address it. You want to do. No, I gave you this platform. Let me take care of it. You've got to be able to handle the opposition, Sam. You got to be able to handle the alternative opinions about you. Jesus had to do that on a higher level. His life was on the line and he did it. So what are you doing? People saying some messages on a social media app that you can get in and out of, and you sitting here saying it's so hard to not respond? No, I don't want to hear that. What do you do when your life is on the line? I was like, well, you know what, God, you're right. What am I talking about? You face this on a higher level. Now I've got to be responsible. I pray that this inspires you guys. Because I feel like when you trust God and you go with his will, it's not really a risk that you take in. That's the preferred will for your life. And it may not happen as fast as you want it, how you want it, when you want it. But it's always better. Look at Joseph. He could have just went straight to the palace. That would have been great. From the pit to the palace would have been great. But he had to go through some things and grow through some things. And what God confronted me with is that, Sam, I hear what you want, but I'm going to need you to grow in this area. I need you to focus on the areas I'm asking you to grow in. I'm going to handle the rest. I think that's a word for somebody that's listening today. Thank you for spending your time with us on Love Samantha Lee, More Than Just Pretty podcast. It's been a privilege to share this space with you, where we celebrate being unapologetically ourselves. I hope today's episode has encouraged you to embrace your own unique beauty and the beauty in others. Don't forget to follow us and join our community on social media. Share your journey and insights, and let's continue this conversation. Until next time, remember, real beauty starts with being true to yourself. I love y'all. I'll talk to you soon.